So a warm welcome to all the attendees. I hope I'm audible and visible. A warm welcome to all the attendees. Thank you so much for joining in. I hope to have a great learning and engaging session today. So before we start, couple of housekeeping rules. This session is being recorded. Recording will be shared with you on the mail. Please post all your questions in the Q&A box. We'll attend to them towards the end of the session. And please do tell us how we did by participating in the survey. Monster APAC and ME is now founded. We are trusted by more than 50,000 recruiters for their hiring needs. We have been conducting such engaging webinars for really long. Our focus is to guide and let the recruiter community learn by means of experience sharing of the industry stalwarts. Couple of such webinars are on screen for you to refer. Welcome to yet another session of Foundit RecRoute. This is session number 30. I am your host for the evening. My name is Priya Nair. I lead the talent acquisition team for Foundit. I have more than 15 years of experience in recruitment across functions, across geographies. The topic for the day is IT talent sourcing and engagement in the digital age. We all know that in today's fast-paced digital landscape, sourcing and engaging top IT talent has become more critical than ever. So we will delve into the strategies and the best practices which are tailored to thrive in this dynamic era of technology, where innovation and agility reign supreme. I would like to welcome our guest speaker for the session. Jejo Thomas is a seasoned talent acquisition leader with nearly 2 decades of experience in talent acquisition, along with campus recruitment. With a rich background at industry giants, including Wipro, TCS, Mphasis, Atos, Jejo brings a wealth of industry knowledge to the table. He has worked on various assignments, which include working with the various functions for assessment, skill mapping, process improvements, implementing ATS, background verification process, implementation and strategies projects for critical hiring. At present, Jejo is the Director Talent Acquisition for Ensono. So a warm welcome to you, Jejo, and thank you so much for joining in, and thank you so much for taking out time for this. So it's over to you, and we would love to hear from you if we have missed anything, in your introduction, and just take over. We are looking forward to an engaging session, Jejo. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Priya, and thank you, Foundit team, for first of all giving me this opportunity to share my views, my experience to the larger audience. I'm going to say with two thought process, and this is what I want to begin this session, and this is for the larger audience. So there are two statements that I'm going to make, which I want all of you to keep that in your mind while we have that entire presentation that I'm going to do it. Okay. So the first statement, which is say, if you are a recruiter, and if you've been in the recruiter for in the current year 2024, then I think you should call yourself not lesser than a CEO of a company. So this is the first statement I really want you to hold till the entire conversation comes to an end. The second thing which I also want to give, which is also a contradictory statement, which is basically what I could read from one of the article which was from NASCOM, which said 60% of the hiring is going to be lesser compared to what we used to do it earlier, but the complexity of hiring is going to be 3 times the multiples of what we were doing till now. So I've just tried giving you two contradictory statements. Feel yourself as a CEO and what is there for future that we have. And keeping that in mind, I'm going to start my conversation, which is going to be more focused from our today's topic. So the first and foremost thing, when Priya and the founder team approached to me, they said, they want to have this topic. And I said, wow, this is something which we all are day in, day out nowadays, at least from a recruiter's point of view. I think we are all some or the other way connected with AI as one of the key things that we are all into. And every recruiter is going through a different, I would say, is a learning curve, because what we did earlier till last year may not be even relevant to this year, because of the newer technologies which are coming, whether it is the way we are hiring people, whether we are connecting with people. There are different technologies which have come into the space. So today I'm going to talk about, I'm going to break this topic into two different aspects. One, it says the IT talent sourcing, and I think this is where the entire thought process which is what I'm trying to dig from all of you, or share my thoughts around it. And then I'm going to talk about more from an how the digital age or probably the AI is impacting all our lives, and how do we make it a little better, make it more of a part of our life, to make our life a little bit easier, is what I'm going to focus across. So when I looked at IT talent sourcing, I think the first thing that I wanted to look at is how do we define IT talent sourcing. And it has a two different sides of the story. One is the primarily the sourcing, and I think that's exactly where today we are all challenged, primarily because we see a lot of candidates are not so easily converted, or we are not able to engage with them, a lot of to's and fro's, and we are finding it very difficult to attract people to join our company. And we also see a lot of time we have seen dropouts very last moment. And I think there is a lot of learning from a sourcer or a recruiter point of view, but also there is also something which is also growing bigger and wider, which is one, a lot of people talk about, there is too much of a stress in the work. A lot of people are talking about high blood pressure, a lot of people are talking about anxiety. So I think along with what we've been doing, I think this is also adding up to our job profile or to our even individuals. And that's what I'm trying to focus more from an IT sourcing. And I'm just sharing my perspective based on my experience that I have been dealing with the IT hiring in the last couple of years. So I'm breaking the first part, which is basically the sourcing part of it. A lot of articles when I was reading through it, I could see people talking about attract and influence first and then engage. Typically I've seen all those Googles, or whenever I was trying to read articles, everyone said that, let's attract, influence, and then engage. I feel we should do the other way around, especially when we are living in a century where everything is more digital. The first thing that starts with is engage, and engagement is all about how a recruiter breaks a discussion with to any individual. And it's not necessary he's only hiring, he's connecting to a person whom he wants to hire, but it could be any, which means we are also trying to look at the sales pitch, which is what, breaking the silos, connecting with people, talking about, hey, how are you doing, hey, tell me, what are you doing, what are your thought process, just breaking a conversation, which is what I'm talking about, is the basic engagement. A lot of time what I see is recruiters only pick up the call and say that, hey, I have an opening, can you please let me know if you're interested or not. We normally don't try to engage with them, just to see, probably, they may not be a hire for today, but they could be a hire for tomorrow, which could be your future position that will come in. So first type foremost thing I would say is we all have to focus on our engagement part. Okay, how we do it in a different way, which I'm also going to talk in the same slide a little ahead. Attract and influence, now these are again two most important thing. Now how do we attract is also about selling something when that person is looking out for something. Now that could be not just in the form of salary, that could not be only in the form of what you call it as the role profile, but there are nowadays people are slightly looking way ahead of time. They are talking about benefits, they're talking about retirement benefits, they're talking about a lot of things which we are probably not even talking the earlier days. So people are actually anticipating, saying that, what is that you as an individual can help me, or give me that information which will help me to get influenced by taking across this organization to be right, to for me to pursue my career with them or not. So that is one thing. Along with that, I think branding plays a very important role in this aspect, because most of the companies now, and especially I will say the other way around, the candidates actually want to see what your company is into, what your company is doing differently. Now there are various ways of branding, okay, various ways. I don't think so there is sky is the limit. People are doing so many different things. We have Glassdoor, which comes out to be so much important nowadays. People are looking at the company feedback before even applying for an position. So see the way things are getting aligned to it. So for me, everything that you do under branding comes as a part of the attraction and the influence that you're going to build for a candidate who is your future prospective. Not necessarily might be keen to join you today or probably want to apply for it. The third thing is, are we really meeting to a place where both the candidate as well as you are able to sink into a place, saying that, okay, I think there is something interesting. That conversation is where I call it as the conversion, where you are able to actually, from a thousands of people that in the world, we are able to filter it down, and we are bringing across that one person whom you feel is the right person, who is going to fit to your role, or probably who has an aspiration to take up your role. That's where I call it as a conversion, which is basically communication, which is also about letting people know about what is that you have it in store for them. It is a partnership also comes into place, because a lot of time what I've seen it is, Recruiters does the 80% of the job in terms of selling. The business doesn't come into the picture. And this is where a lot of time we all struggle, right? Because a recruiter only does is the transaction level of process. I become the front face for that associate, but tomorrow that person is going to join the business. I think this is where we really need to bring across one more as party to the table, which when we are talking about the conversion is business or your stakeholders who are going to be the key person for this associate or a candidate who is going to join them. We need to actually integrate that, and that is where you will see a lot of conversion happening. So step by step, I think most of us are doing this. I think this is typically what we call it as the primitive, or you can say the earlier ways of working which we are doing it. And the last thing that happens is when a person is convinced, he says, okay, fine, I'm going to look at this opportunity. I found your company website interesting, your brandings, you're talking about a lot of stuffs, I would like to explore. And one more thing which I want to talk about being before the conversion is how much of information are you going to give to that associate or the candidate, because that is going to play an important role. A lot of time what we do it is, hey, I don't know, I'm sorry, but I cannot help you much in beyond this information. Trust me, take a step back. Like for example, I'm not talking about sharing some confidential information, but take a step back and see what is the information he is looking at. Probably, it is your strive to give him that information. Maybe you may not be the right person as a recruiter. Give that information. Bring your business into the picture. Bring your HR people into the picture, because sometimes you may not be so sure about the question that probably someone is asking about the benefits or insurance or anything that you are coming across. Don't stop yourself from saying that, okay, let me come back to you. Take that conversation very seriously. Go back to that person with the right set of people or the information before you bring into a conversation. And I'm telling you, 80% of my personal experience, when we are able to bridge this conversation in a better way with all the gaps getting clarified, I have seen those conversation turns out to be an application. And this is my personal experience talking about from almost 2 decades. Never ever I felt that, even though there would be people who might say, hey, okay, I'm not really keen right now. I have seen those people coming back to me after 3 months, 6 months, when they are exploring, saying that, hey, listen to me. I'm looking out for an opportunity, but do you think you can have some roles for me? My success is not about whether I'm able to fill him right now or give him a role, but my success is I was able to convert that person, which I felt was a difficult, but I could do it with the conversation that we have. So most important thing to start being a recruiter, or probably I look at the IT talent sourcing, is how do we filter out your way of identifying a candidate? Few things which I will call it out very categorically, especially being a sourcer or a recruiter, was you should know your what you're hiring for. Know exactly every story related to that particular profile, because you could be able to talk more about it. A lot of time we don't under we say that, I'm technical person, I will just look at the keywords and I will start finding resumes. Don't do that. Ask questions to your technical manager saying that, okay, you're using this tool, can you tell me what is the use of this tool? Take a step ahead, guys, because that's exactly what, when I was trying to tell you, you being a CEO, it is not about just knowing your particular keywords, but also knowing your business, which is going to be important. You might be requiring for a support job, but you are actually chasing people who are primarily were an administrator or a developer role. you know it's not a match for you. You need to understand whether that person joining is going to do an support job or an administrator, because those are three different profiles. That is the key where you are actually going to start looking at filtering down. And this is something which we've been doing traditionally, and a lot of people have been, nowadays we have changed our way of looking, as we are using tools, some of those AI technologies to implement that. So coming back to our topic, application is the last stage where I see is where the sources becomes as successful in converting an aspiring or a non-aspiring candidate who has applied to your job. The second part is going to be very critical parallelly, but I would say that is more transactional for us, because if your first part of your job is well done, guys, and I'm telling you with my personal experience, and we have seen lot many cases where we have seen 100% success, because our first part of the job, which is basically the IT sourcing, was done in such a beautiful way where the candidate themselves felt that there is a value for them when they join the organization, and that conversion. So next process is, everyone knows it, it's basically the assessment, the technical interviews, followed by HR discussion, offer make, and then finally the onboarding aspect, which is also something which has been taken across more cautiously a lot of company. And the worst, which I would also add to it, is when you see that there are last minute surprises which ends up across. Again, this is something which will follow as a transaction, but trust me, if you start focusing on this aspect, and that is my personal agree, you will see a lot of change. The more the conversation that you do in the beginning, the less off your chances because that person is so confident of telling you whether he's going to join or not join, or he has some different aspiration. Those gets clarified in the beginning, and you will have, I would not say you will have 100% joining ratio, but there would be a possibility that you might get to know something much ahead of the time rather than being surprised at the last moment. And this is typically what recruiters go through in their recent, in the current situation right now. Adding to that, being a sourcer, how are we going to change the way we are looking at right now? uh, when I say engage, the first part is also about conversation, but what are we going to use as a tool or platform to do? And it's very easily available in most of the companies nowadays. We do career site as in one of the tools that our own career site that we use for getting the application. LinkedIn is one more thing. One thing which I want to share with you, and this is my personal experience. Whenever we talk about a new technology that is coming in, I really love to do something is go to the LinkedIn and talk about something which is, understand where exactly this technology happens. Okay, something that I get is the data which says tell me that this location is good enough for particular. I become an influencer based on this information. So a lot of the decision that business actually takes, being a recruiter, I'm able to influence because I did my homework
Yeah.
very well. And these are some of those ways where you can actually get maximum information and start engaging with people. So LinkedIn is one, job posting is one thing, referrals are other different things within your organization, which a lot of people do. I'd give you one example of my personal experience. I joined one company in my early stages. The company had thousands of referrals that used to keep coming in. Okay, the unfortunate part was they had recruiters, but they did not have dedicated recruiters to assess those thousands of resume that was coming into their flow of their referral program. So if I was thinking that if this was today's era, I would have actually got that entire thousands of resumes cleared within a span of say few hours itself by looking at the top grading profiles which are coming in. But those eras were very different. We used to engage with every referral candidate, which was because that company had mandated you need to communicate about the candidate status, whether you pursue it or not, it has to be communicated. So just imagine the hours that we are lost. I'm just trying to bring across two different things over here. One, we are doing typically, and many companies are still doing it, versus what we can do it with the use of AI as a technology, which is what I'm trying to draw over here. Coming back to tell your story, and this is exactly what I said. Tell your story about your company, about your success, about some of those challenges that you come across. One thing that I always learned, and I think it was a combined job with we and business. We never ever promised anything which was beyond our work profile, or something which was saying that okay, we have a beautiful red carpet welcome for you. We never say that. We literally always said that okay, fine, our company is going to be growing, we look forward for this kind of mindset. If you're okay, that's where we would like to aspire you to take yours. And so we were transparent in the entire process, bro. Whether it was good, bad, ugly, we used to tell that to the candidate much before even they were into the interview. So this really helped us a lot of time, giving that vision to that candidate. Okay, they are so transparent. I think there is a scope for me to take this as a challenge for me to pursue that role. So this is what we have seen. Tell your story. It could be good, it could be bad, but tell them in the way that they feel that there is a value add for them in the entire story that you are talking about. So that is the another way to look at it. Data analyst, this is the core, guys. And every recruiter, as I said, if you look from a CEO point of view, you should know what is the data around you. And AI definitely helps you, but I think more from the AI point of view, it is your individual strive to look at your data. The data can be in the form of attrition. The data could be in the form of any platform to talk about what skills are growing in the market. It talks about which location have certain skills. It talks about how a particular company within your organization, like for example, you've been targeting a company, but then you saw that you did not see much joiner coming in. Was that's a data for you. Start looking at it day in day out, because that's where you will start making some good decisions probably, which would help you out as you move further. The next part is communication, whether it is passive or active. As I said, I can give you one example of a very senior person that I connected with a couple of years back. We were trying to hire him for a particular very senior role, and unfortunately at that time he was really passionate about the current project that he was pursuing, he did not really give across an input. And I really love to keep communicating with people, especially whom I felt was really a value add, and they were doing things different. So I sent him a mail saying that, hey, my name is Jejo, we spoke about it, I would have loved to have more and connect with you as and when you're free, but also would be happy whenever you're exploring, try reaching out to me, will be the first thing to have you getting into the process. And after almost like 1.5 years, I was so happy to see that mail coming from that person saying that, hey Jijo, you remember we had connected couple of years months back, and I'm exploring some opportunity, and could we look at it? And trust me, today that person is already with our organization. We were able to convert that entire thing. If I had not continued that communication with him, I thought we would have lost somewhere, and probably I would have never had. My intention was to keep him in my connect and see where I could aspire him whenever he looks out for a change. And that actually came to a place where we could actually convert. And today he is an employee with us at a very senior role, which he is pursuing. So this is how the traditional method. I'm not talking very something which new, but I'm talking about some of the key things that a recruiter should start looking at it as we look at the role getting more and more stringent and more creative the way we are moving across. The last word part in this particular thing which I called out of the partnership, you cannot change the world. You really need your business and your key stakeholders to partner with you whenever you're going out for any kind of selling, because you yourself will only be able to move a little bit, but I think together all of you can do a lot of change in influencing an individual who is not even willing to change a job. And I personally saying, we have seen this successfully happening when we reach out to people. The first connect, the second connect, the third connect becomes a business connect. We are not even interviewing. This is not the stage where we are talking about interview. It's all about giving that information what a person would be looking at even before applying to the job. So give that opportunity as a partnership. Don't go alone to fight this war, because you will not be able to do it. The person is not joining you, the person is joining the business team as an organization. You are a friend to the, being a recruiter, you are a front face to the to the world. But on the other end, there is also the other function which are going to be closely working with them, and they are also equally partnered for driving any of such hiring that is happening. So I would start telling you is that go together and see where you can actually win together. That's the message I'm going to leave it across. The next slide is more about how do we engage, and whatever I said, okay, is exactly what we are going to see it as a change with the usage of AI. Before I get into this, I want to just share one story, and probably this would relate to you when I'm talking about this AI. Okay, couple of years back, in my early stints of my career, there was a customer who came in saying that, many of you know about Informatica Administrator, right? This was one of the what do you say, a database tool that was used once upon a time. Now imagine 2005, there were hardly any people in India that were actually having that expertise with the customer that was looking at, I want somebody at an architect level to pick up this role. And see the challenge that customer had also smartly did it. Get me two people at my level of expertise that I'm looking at, and I will give you the business of 400 plus people, which will be your win for it. And we exactly, and trust me, that time we were not even talking about AI and all. Uh, and this is the kind of struggle that I went through. And I thought of sharing because, I'm just relating it. I wish that era was today. I would have, changed the entire world overnight actually. But then that was not that era. So first thing that came into my me was, typically as any recruiter does it, right? You go to Naukri, because that time LinkedIn was not even there existing the way we are talking today. So we went to Naukri. I started looking at, and the first surprise I got, zero profiles in India. Okay. And this is typically, and the business as usual, how they put pressure on you. Boss, I don't know. It's a 400 people business, headcount business. You can't just screw it up for us. Typical how business put pressures on you. One thing that kept on urging me was that, is this the only world that I can look at it? And that was driving me to look at, for another piece of information, was to look at, can I look at somebody who is returning from any other country to India? Is that something that I can drive it? And trust me, I saw so many people who were there outside India whose resume were there on the Monster. I remember Monster being used at that time. A lot of people who used to register over there. And trust me, I was so happy when I looked at so many profiles in the US market. There were people who were working in US. I started connecting with them. And luckily or luckily, I would say is there was one person who had decided to move out from US and come back to India, and we were able to turn that entire conversation, get him convinced, apply him, make him meet up the customer when he joined. And I think that was one of those success stories that I, but imagine there were almost like 15 to 20 nights that I spent in searching that one resume. That one resume took me 15 to 18 days just to get to that level where I could and see the number of connects that I tried doing it. But that was a great learning for me. But just imagine if that was the same scenario today, any of the tools could have helped me getting that resume easily from any part of the world, right? And this is exactly what I'm trying to hold that conversation, saying that how difficult it was. And this is not going to be different for us also right now. Things are difficult. It is more complex being a recruiter. Look at how you can make your life easy with the usage of AI as a technology. And I think so many tools, whether I talk about, I was fortunate enough to use foundit for a month. And trust me, I could see it has an amazing integration of lot of application that can be integrated at one place. So, things are changing now. And that's exactly what I want all of you guys to start focusing across. So one of the things we really, really see the benefit of using AI. I'm not really talking about any specific tool, friends, only for a reason because every tool has its own pros and cons, and I'm really not going to influence or give any information pertaining to any tool. What I'm going to tell you is how is this going to change your life? It is up to you how you're going to utilize it effectively, whether it is Foundit or any other tool. It has its own amazing, ways of utilizing it. So one of the things I would always say AI helps you is time. Most of the recruiters are actually pushed against the wall for time to hire, time to recruit, and I don't think so this is a different terminology in the recruitment world right now, right? And one of the things that we really, really struggle is, a lot of companies are very aggressive. They say that, okay, I requirement came in, I want a resource tomorrow. That's the kind of aggression, and that's business need also, because today the business is so agile that, business are changing the way they are working. There is so much of a churn that is happening. So there is a demand, and I don't really blame the business, but it's again, how we are integrating each other as a partners to come out with some solution. So time is going to be the crux. And I just imagine, I'll give you one example for my own organization. There were certain roles where we were struggling to even find application. Today we are so strong in getting so many applications that we are coming from, and we are working on a very niche area, which is mainframe. I'm sure a lot of you are aware of it. We are basically the infrastructure mainframe side of it. We are getting good profiles now, and which we were really, really struggling in the past, not even getting one or two profiles. And how did it happen? Because we were able to use some of the technology, some of the branding stuffs, and we are able to do it. So time is one of the key factor. It reduces your sourcing time, also your conversion time, because from the process point of view, if you have a candidate who is applying upfront, which means he's very keen to pursue with us, and he will also showcase interest in joining us. Cost saving, the earlier lot of dependency on the agency. I think with the integration with the use of AI, there is a lot of cost saving that companies are seeing as a value add. Today you are only being able to look at one particular tool to find a resume, but nowadays there are tools like, for example, Foundit is integrated with LinkedIn and many other tools which will help you out found out some of these resumes coming in. And whether if you talk about any other tools also, nowadays AI is helping at integrating all these things, and it reduces your cost because you're going to hire from, as a direct source or from a portal, which will reduce your cost. Strategy, this is my key for AI. Okay, and I really want to emphasize specifically on this. Your strategies, okay, strategies are different now. Every company has its own ways. And now I just give you an example. 2021 and 22, I'm sure everyone would have come across the typical problem that most of the companies spoke about was proxy candidate, right? Typically a background, proxy candidate, somebody else interviewing, somebody else is, coming and joining. So a lot of complexity. I'm calling out that as a part of your strategy. Understand what is your problem statement. So there are a lot of assessment tools which have come in, which helps you out in terms of one, if you have a bulk of resume coming in, there are AI tools which helps you grade your application, stating that, these are your top 10 or top 20 profiles whom you should first pursue it, because they are close match based on your requirement. That is one side of it. Number two, while you do an assessment, I know there are a lot of companies who came were checking out how are you doing it differently. I think there are a lot of AI tools also coming in specifically from an interview point of view. It is helping saving your time. It is helping across to avoid this kind of proxy which has been seen in the recent time. And third, I think the most important thing is a lot of companies are focusing on diversity in a different way.
Hmm.
Diversity is the key for most of the organization. Now here I'm not really opening the Pandora of just being calling us as diversity as a whole, but I think diversity as a key is important for all organization nowadays, and everybody is focusing across. I'm not sure how many of you have gone through LinkedIn, and whenever you do a search for a particular skill, it also gives you a small input on the right hand side. It says 24% or X percentage of your particular skill are with a diversity background. So it gives you a small information on the table to tell you whether you should really focus on hiring a diversity for that role, or you should start focusing non-diversity. So there are information which are automatically floating, and that's coming as a part of the AI which is integrated over there. The next part is branding, which I already called it out, right? All these tools, whether whichever tool you're using are nowadays integrated with so many different tools which are helping send the message to the larger audience. And I think that's exactly what we should utilize. Like for example, whether you talk about Naukri, whether you talk about Foundit, or you talk about any of the tools, a lot of tools are integrated with different job portals and different things. So what they do it is they automatically send your job profile to any of the matching profiles, and it gets to that person who is not even there in your radar right now. So
Hmm.
you're actually making somebody know about your role whom you're not even connected in your directly in your any of your connects or anywhere. That's the benefit that helps you through branding. And larger reach, as I said, it's not just stopping you from a particular location or a group of people. It gives you an enhanced viability to reach out to a larger audience, which earlier was, if I talk about my earlier ages, we were used to typically look at Naukri, send emails, call up, pick up the phone and talk to it. Today it's just a click of button. It's just a click of button. Everything is getting connected in terms of reaching out to a larger audience. And the last part, and I think this is exactly what everyone is worried about nowadays, whether my candidate is going to join, whether my person is going to complete clear the assessment. So lot of tools are existing nowadays which also give you some kind of predictive analysis, which is really important for you to understand whether you are putting across or investing on a particular candidate. Is that person giving you that positive vibe, whether he is going to be joining? So a lot of input comes directly to us, and we see a probability of 60% of this person joining your organization, and this is typically based on some of the algorithms that are being developed at the back end through the use of AI. So what I'm trying to tell you over here is, look at your problems. Okay, your problems are no different than mine or anybody who is there in the group of it. How you relate it with your the solution that you have in front of you with the user. Don't call AI going to be a threat to your job, but trust me, AI is going to reduce a lot of pain. Now it is up to you whether you take it as a threat or take it as a tool which will help you do better in your job. That's where I really wanted you guys to focus across. So no, if people, a lot of people say that AI is going to take away jobs. No, it's not going to take away jobs. It will give you two options. Number one, you upskill yourself to do something better through the use of AI as a technology. That is what it is going to give you that insight on it. And my last slide is more I would say is very simple. I don't want to complicate this conversation because I thought I will interact more and with the interest of time. So what are changing and make your life easier? That's exactly what I'm calling it out. Use tools effectively to make your life easy. Start looking at resume scanning. We were doing it through sorting out manually between the individuals. These are your AIs giving you 2 minutes, you will get you the result. Not even 2 minutes, and less than that, you get your top 10 or top 15 profiles who are the best match. Your half of your job work is done. Sourcing candidates, you do it manually. Today it is filters which are data points which are driven by AI, which helps you to the closest match of a person, including the predictive analysis which says whether that person is going to join or not. See the way this is helping you out. Scheduling interviews, and this is exactly what I called it, the assessment which are changed now. People can actually take the panel, and the candidate can decide their own time. You don't even need to go and call and coordinate all this. This is happening automatically. Video interview analysis, your proxy part of it, which is getting changed now. It is AI is taking a lead to avoid those problem statement. I still remember we used to take screenshot, we used to make people stand with PAN card, Aadhaar card, and say that I want to take before you get into the. Come on, that is gone. I think you need to embrace technology now and use it effectively to see where exactly you can curb some of those manual tasks which are doing it. And most important, as I said, diversity. one of the things that people are worried about is we have a lot of influences or biases that happens within the organization. Use technology to avoid those biases, because that is going to be very, very important when you have systems doing your job than you going and pushing across your business leaders, hey, I want to hire a diversity, but he says, no, I don't want to hire diversity. This this AI tools do help you out to influence your hiring managers as you move across. So my this is where I really wanted to end across this presentation. I hope I could give you some experience of mine, and I hope this could be very essential the way you have said, two things which I said. You still have to call yourself being a recruiter, you're still a CEO of a company, while your complication of doing your job is not getting down, but it is getting higher and higher in terms of the complexity. So with that, thank you very much for your patience. I hope I would have been able to add some value through my thoughts and my experience. I will hand it over to you, Priya, from now.
Thank you so much, Jejo. It was very insightful presentation. I'm sure people must have taken notes. I'm already seeing in the chat people writing in. So thank you so much. And I would also request the participants to start posting their questions. Maybe in a few minutes we'll start taking up those questions. And Jejo can help us with the answers for those. So, throughout we spoke about a lot of things, Jejo. So I just want to, particularly ask about one aspect. So you were talking about using various assessment platforms,
Yeah.
different levers, tools for recruiting. So any example, any experience that you can quote probably in the, assessments that has helped, maybe reduce the uh, time to hire, or it has, unnecessary interview rounds have come down or something like that, which is, actually substantially helped, your team hire better and faster. Any examples or experience that you can share?
Yeah, I'll give you one example, especially when we started across hiring for cloud in my own company. I think one of the things that we were finding it across was, the number of candidates available in the market was huge, but people who were actually having the real skills that we were looking at were very low. So what we started using was, we actually hired one platform which was really good enough. I don't want to really call out that name. It's known to most of the people right now. So we use that platform. Now that platform was something which had two good, I would say, features. One, we created an assessment. One was the assessment, when I say, was, my business leaders, because typically there are already inbuilt assessment questionnaires which were there. But I think what was different, that was this tool was allowing us to create our own questionnaires, which was very much focused on the technology that we wanted. So it was again partnership. The business came together. We started creating those questionnaire. It turned out to be a 30 minutes questionnaire, and it was so beautifully called it out in terms of the assessment, that after the completion of assessment we were very clear about, whether that person is really good fit to move further for the final round or not, because we reduced the entire dependency on too many interviews, because we were developing our churn. So this helped us, and this tool actually helped us in two different ways. Number one, it controls some of those proxies. Number two, it helped us in identifying some of, so just imagine, we had received an application which was close to around 600 plus application within a span of 3 to 4 days. We brought it down close to around 35 to 40 application with the assessment tool that we used. And within that 35, we were able to easily close down close to around 7 to 10 roles which we were really wanting to do it, and that really helped across. But and that's what I said, somewhere you have to really start looking at AIs to make your life more easier. Now AI, when I say, it is also about how the experience that a candidate gets. Like for example, if that tool was just sending a link, please start your assessment, it would have been a different experience. But this tool also gave us, first was an introduction about the company. It talked about, how this company is focusing on this area. So we had some information which was inbuilt in that particular tool. It went to the candidate, it talked about a lot of information about the company, and then about the role. And also it really helped us, Priya, in terms of, reducing the entire volume to an extent that we were able to curb down, and our time to hire that person or people was much lower in that, and we had a great success in that particular area.
Great example, Jejo, because I also understand and know that these days assessment tools are so critical, because even the stakeholders do not have that kind of time to invest in the interview process. So if they have screen tested, profiles coming their way, so maybe we reduce the number of interview rounds also, and especially if they are
Exactly.
customizable, especially if they are aligned to the kind of recruitment that we are doing in the organization in the particular business line, then all the more reason to depend more on these assessment platforms and make the best use of it and make our life easy, as you say. So on that note, I would also want to share that Foundit also has assessment tool available, which is Skillist. Skillist is an AI powered pre-employment assessment platform that enables the recruiters to screen candidates effectively with skill first at the top of the funnel. It offers gamified experience with a variety of tests, including multiple choice, coding, AI-driven communication assessments, personality profiling, etc. Enhanced with top-tier proctoring features like browser, image, and video monitoring. And Skillist also prevents candidate misconduct. The platform also has successfully cut hiring times by about 50% and has reduced unnecessary interviews by 70%. So for those recruiters who are on the chat asking for various AI platforms, they can find out more about Skillist by means of participating in a poll. We will share the details over to you on your mail ID. So further to talk about, we also want you to elaborate a little on the process improvement. While you touched upon various, aspects of engaging and attracting and brand communication and things like that. So what, are your thoughts around how TA and HR leaders can identify the areas of process improvement? And I also want you to touch on the candidate engagement part in the recruitment journey, because eventually I think already the questions are around how do we ensure that the candidates eventually after the application process, after they're offered, they join, which is the pain point for a lot of our recruiters. So what are your thoughts around that?
So I think I would like to cover the last part, which is very interesting, Priya, and why I'm saying it because I think that's a pain point for. I could see some questions on the
Yeah.
chat also where somebody has called it out saying that I had hundreds of checklists. So let me tell it in this way, guys. Okay, there is no one defined solution for this problem, and you really need to understand this or take it as a pinch of salt. Okay, number one, when you are trying to start looking at it, and this is where as I said, the first part of your entire recruitment process, which is basically the IT sourcing, plays a very important role. Okay, now when I say very important role, it also I shared about something which is about the data analysis, guys.
Yeah.
You have hundreds of people being offered, you're still people not been able to join. Something is not working out, and that is where probably it could be a compensation. I've seen a lot of cases where compensation turn out to be the major case, because people are getting counter offers and offers and offers, and that's how we're not able to mitigate that people. The other problem is we are not a big company and we are not able to influence it. This could be a second problem. Third problem is whether my target or candidates or the audience is that aligned to what my requirement is, because a lot of time that also creates a barrier for somebody to take up that offer because he feels that this role is not so important for me or not so great for me than what I'm doing right now. And the worst which I've seen, and typically I've seen it within our organization also, most of the hiring managers typically want to hire the best fit guys, the best fit guys. And this is exactly, I want to pull it out and say that this is where larger amount of your problem lies, because we start looking at identifying candidates who are your exact match or the best fit. You are already losing your battle, because you need to think that that person is not just been pursued by you as a company, but there are 100 more companies who are running behind that particular. So your first thing is start looking at taking a step back. If you have been making the same mistake and still finding it a problem, then I think you really need to stop doing what you're doing right now. Take a break, take a step back and look at all your information. You may not, there would be some times that, sometimes you'll have to take a very discreet call saying that, okay, for me, this person is coming at an XYZ salary. Is that aligned to your business cost? Sometimes there are chances that you might have to hire somebody at an exorbitant cost, but then is that a value add that person is bringing to the table when you are hiring for a company? So you have to get that as a partnership, guys. You alone cannot drive to your success. That's what I would say. And I just gave some data points to my friend whoever has asked this question. Take a step back, look at and analyze your information. You might not be, one single statement cannot give you a solution. You might have to think through about how you're going to change this, and this might be able to, you might be able to solve the problem, is what I would say.
Yeah. Absolutely agree with you over there. And I think the session would not be complete if we do not talk about diversity and inclusion, because that's the thing these days in hiring. So there's a lot of emphasis on diversity, and a lot of companies are actually putting in effort, to have a diverse, culture, and making the employees more sensitive and things like that. So how do you see diversity hiring and AI as a great enabler in this area?
So I would say is we are still growing in that space, Priya. I would not say that we are 100% there. Now for us, diversity is a huge, huge, huge space for altogether. Now, I think we have only touched upon to an extent where we are looking at the gender as one of those diversity area. We are still not grown to the other side of it, which I think people are started talking about it. So
Yeah.
one of the things that I said, I called it out during my earlier discussion. You actually can influence your business leaders with the information that a lot of these tools give you. Like for example, as I said, LinkedIn, if you go and search any of your particular jobs, the moment you do it, it actually gives you also a statement or an input which says your X percentage of that particular role, or candidates are with a diversity background. They are typically talking about the gender diversity over there, but that itself is a good. Now just imagine where you find somewhere where a particular technology talks about having 40% of the candidates from the diversity background. I would say is, why not hire a diversity for that particular
Right.
role?
Right.
You become an influencer by looking at the data, and you're not talking about just buying a myth, but you're talking about a tool which is giving you an amazing data to help you out to support your conversation with it. The
Right.
other thing which I think a lot of tools are also helping us nowadays is focusing on the unbiased approach, and I think that is going to be very, very, very important for a success of diversity. And I'm relating more right now is more towards the gender diversity. Probably people have wider thought, they can definitely utilize them for the larger diversity also. But I think a lot of tools nowadays are also giving you the input in terms of how you can avoid some of those conversation. Like for example, there are tools which gives you some good job description which are unbiased job description. It's not related to you, he or she, but it
Yeah.
is a general job description, and the wordings, it helps you to draft your job description in that way. So which means you're already bringing across an inclusion. So there are tools which are helping you automatically to, you just need to feed in is your job description, it give you some input, you give some input and they give you an output saying that this is how you could draft your job description to avoid any kind of biases. So this is one thing which is happening. There are interviews which are, we call it as blind interviews. There are a lot of tools which are saying that you cannot look at who the person is. You just need to interview that person based on the resume that comes in. So a lot, but again, this is again a partnership. It cannot be just dealt by saying that TA needs to run that. It has to be driven as a partnership, as an engagement to be successful in the way we are moving ahead. I hope I could make some input, Priya.
Yeah, absolutely. And with the complexity is rising, because the expectation, as you said, that everybody's looking at the right fit. So whether it is in terms of the technical aspects, the cultural fitment, so basically there's no compromise at all expected, from the candidate. So from all those aspects, if you want a good candidate, I think it's a partnership only with the TA and the business. They have to work together towards getting a good candidate for the role, and eventually
Absolutely.
the ROI coming out from the role is also critical. That is the most
Absolutely.
important. You should
I
not.
just want to give one example of my own company. When I started with this company, we were what, 13.6 or something was our diversity. Today, I'm really, really proud to say that, in a span of last 3 to 4 years, we are almost like 25% of our diversity, population right now. And it has helped because we are all talking about it. We are using different approaches, different tools, technologies to, enhance diversity.
Diversity.
That's how it is happening.
Yeah. So I think just we will have to quickly move to the Q&A, because I think time is running short. Just a little bit on the retention part of it. So we've spoken about the engagement with the candidates in terms of any thing that can help in retaining the talent also, because that also
Yes.
helps the TA team.
Yeah. So I think so I will put it in two different ways. And I think a lot of people are already might be doing it also. But one thing which I say is there are certain tools which will give you some kind of predictive analysis. Use that effectively as a part of your post offer engagement. This could be one channel to know what is actually happening, because a lot of things they the tools actually do it is they do an algorithm to see how is the behavior of the person in terms of what sites he's logging. So a lot of information automatically gets captured and gives you visibility saying that this person is going to be joining or not. From an other aspect, and I think one thing which we are very proud of is our the way we engage themselves. Prior to COVID, we used to do something as an red carpet welcome for all our future associate. And you know what, we used to call them across a simple thing, and before we invite them, we said, if you have 100 question, don't step out of the room till we get the 100 answers coming from all our leaders. And we used to make our leaders come into those conversation, and I'm thankful to our leaders who were so actively participating in ensuring that they get not 100 but 101 answers before they leave that room on that day. So that's the kind of engagement that really helped us. We are doing a lot of things right now virtually, and I think this is where people should also look at it. uh, some of the things may be very important for us to do it is how many of the time that person would like to come and interact with you, though it is virtually. Does he come on a camera and feel comfortable to having that interaction with you? These are some of those, I would say is this thought process, but a very good data points for you to see how that person is behaving during that entire process. You don't need to really get to a last moment way to see that this data points are already coming across during our engagement, during our interaction. We step ahead with one more beautiful thing that we started doing is we started using WhatsApp, which is also one of our tool for branding. Plus, we are also engaging with our future joiners. What we have seen is typically a person who doesn't respond to your any of the messages that you do it within a day's time, there is already something that is turning out to be a little bit of doubt. Do I need to wait for something to for him to come and tell me? Rather, I have always asked my recruiters, go and talk to them then and there when you see that there is no response, and see if there is a broken engagement that point of time. See immediately what you can do to engage that you know channel once again, because that's very important. Because if you lose that time, you're already lost that what the conversation that you probably wanted to succeed. So the time, the effectiveness of your communication, and your proactiveness about how you read the data points is going to be the real key over here. And AI also helps you to give you some data points which you should be focused upon.
Okay, so we'll just look at the questions now,
Sure.
Jeju. So we have a question by Narsim, and I think we did address this. How much ever effort we put in engaging with candidates after releasing the offer letter till onboarding date, candidates are a boss at the end. This keeps happening even after hundreds of checklists. So can you suggest anything different? So this is something that is a
Yeah, Nasiman, I gave you some data points because I think you really need to stop what you're doing and take a step back and start looking at analyzing your information. I can tell you, if you are really able to understand your data points more closely, within 1 month you would be the same person who would reach out to you. But you will have to do that effort in terms of identifying that identify that gap that is right now which is not visible to you and to your probably to your business leader, something which is not working out. So I would rather want to leave it to you as a challenge. I shared some of my thought process of how you can mitigate it, but again it's going to be your thought process how you're going to oversee it and succeed on that particular input, Nasim.
right. So there are questions around naming some of the sourcing tools using AI. So any that you would want to talk about, or I mean,
I would refrain from it only, my friend, because to all my friends out here, I would say it is, if I say about a particular tool, every tool has its own different prerogatives and thought
absolutely.
process. So my suggestion is, there is in pedora of information available everywhere. You decide what is your need of the hour, or what you are trying to solve as a problem for your organization, and start looking at assessing them. I'm not saying to just assess one tool and take and embrace it. No, do at least two to three, because you might be able to see some significant difference in different tools. Probably that could be more important for you than what you would have thought. So that's what I will leave it.
Absolutely. And we have a good question here. So sometimes candidates ask about the CTC breakdown and the client information in the initial screening call itself. So in your opinion, should we disclose it in the initial stage? And if we don't, will it affect the company image?
Okay, I leave this conversation in two different ways. Okay, if you know about the way that US as a culture has it, and probably a lot of people who have got some exposure to it over there, even if you reach out to any candidate, it's mandatory that you say the end client customer name, which is mandatory for them.
Hmm.
In India, we try to hide that information to a larger extent, and there are reasons for it. I'm not trying to say that just go and blutter that information. Probably you need to decide at what stage this information needs to be going across, because that is going to be the key. Now, if you're just going to ask somebody, if somebody is asking across at the first information at the first time itself, probably you need to have some better conversation to see that how we are going to influence, saying that you may not get this information right now, but at this stage we are going to help you out with all the information, including the client name, xyz information. We will be able to share it. Are you comfortable? Break that conversation. You might not succeed first day, you might not succeed for 10 days, but trust me, there would be a day where somebody will come back and say that, hey, you were pretty okay with this information, I think I'm pretty okay, let's go ahead and with the process and then decide. You will come across, but then you will have to keep doing it once and again and again. But leave with your thought process of your organization whether they are okay to share, because some of those information may be really really confidential also. So look at your organizational values and information, what they restrict, what they're not. Accordingly, you decide what information you would like to share to that person. That's what I would leave it.
Right. So we have a question from Ujjwal Kaur here. With the intervention of AI, what do you think will be the ideal time to fill a position in today's time?
I would say in two different ways. Okay. uh, First thing is, you will reduce your time to fill. When I say time to fill, is about from the time you source to the time when you are able to make an offer to the candidate. That is something which you will be able to control with the use of AI as a technology. Now, within this thing, if you are also looking at somewhere, like for example, there are certain tools nowadays, they're talking about candidate available on short joiners, candidate who are serving notice, but there are a lot of tools which are also giving you this information. Now it is a step ahead for me if I say, if it is not a niche skill, or if it is a super niche skill, if I would want to say it is, it may vary based on the kind of skill that we have. It could vary as good as a 15 days for some skills, which is a volume skill, or it could even go to a 90 days for somebody where someone has to pursue a notice period of 60 to 90 days and come and join. The only thing that you guys will be able to control, and that is under our visibility, would be how fast we can make an offer to a particular candidate. That is our influential. The rest part is going to be not something which will be under our control. I would say his influence is focus more on how much time you want to take for making an offer to a particular candidate. That's what I would leave it.
So how to source rare niche skill set is also a question that has come up.
It's this combination varies. Okay, and I tell you what, there was one case that came into my context recently. There was a candidate, or there was a business hiring manager who reached out to me saying that I want to hire an AWS DevOps engineer. Okay, I said, okay, wow, what else you're looking? I want, along with AWS DevOps, I want people who are doing some kind of automation in that. I said, okay, that's also a good thing. Then he said, okay, along with automation, I'm also looking at somebody who has experience on SRE or some of those additional skills. So from a skill which was available in abundance, all of a sudden it turned out to be a place where we could only find the total number of profiles available to coming to a 10 to a 12. Now, see, we ourselves had defined how we are going to source. Now, the best thing being a recruiter, and this is going to be where I'm making the statement, being an influencer over here, you really need to look at your data and go back to your business managers. A lot of time we don't do it, thinking that the business doesn't acknowledge some of our requests. No, you need to really have that conversation. Take this data, the AI tools are giving you those, lot of tools are giving you this information. Say that if you're looking at this thing, this is what the availability, we will be more able to close this faster. If you're going to look at this combination of xyz and all those skills on the world, then we only have limited people, and this 12 people are already at the top notch candidates for all the companies that we're looking at. So you will have to influence with the data your information. This is a behavior, whether you want to hire a niche, whether you want to hire a new super niche, it is a conversation which you really need to influence. That's what I would leave it across.
Absolutely. So I think we are little over time here. So just anything that you would want to add in terms of your conclusion note, Jejo? For
Absolutely. I
yeah.
would say recruiters should not take this AI as a threat. I would say take this as an enhancement for your own skill. There are so many beautiful tools which are available now in the market. take that as one particular tool where you want to specialize yourself, because that will be your learning curve, and you might be able to solve a problem. And most important thing is, keep your communication wider, whether it is your internal stakeholders or to your external stakeholders. Discuss the problems, discuss some of those solutions. You might be able to do a better job rather than getting, and a lot of time I see recruiters getting frustrated by themselves, and feeling the ease of the pressure that most of the business put across. So I would say is have conversation, use AI to your benefit, and try to excel in that. That's the only benefit I would. That's the only message I want to leave it, Priya.
Thank you so much. Though we have few questions which we are not able to attend in the interest of time. We'll see how we are able to even answer to them. But thank you so much, Jejo, for a wonderful session. I mean, I have a lot of notes that I have made, and I'm sure a lot of notes the participants would also have made. For all the attendees, please, do take the survey, before leaving, and let us know your thoughts and feedback on how it went. Thank you so much, Jijo, for your time.
Thank you, and it was pleasure interacting with all of you. I would love to hear some of your feedbacks if it has helped changing anybody's perspective the way recruitment is today.
Yes, absolutely. Thank you so much, Jijo.
Thank you.
Thank you.